Is this makeup too much for day wear, by the way?
Never.
Oh, thanks.
I would say it's not enough.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the eyes are great, but then...
I kind of gave up from the nose down.
Yeah. It is not balanced. You just have shiny, flesh-toned lips.
That sounds so gross.
Well, you have like purple eyeshadow. I think you need like a
bold lip.
A bold lip.
See, that's there's some different theories towards that. Oh my God, we're having this problem again.
What?
Where we have this one overactive ambulance driver, and I think it's the same guy who like is an aspiring DJ. So he like I don't know. He really tries to mix it up. Anyway, there are a few theories to that, which I learned from Kevin O'Kwan.
A few theories for...
I don't know how you pronounce his name. He's like a very famous makeup artist.
On YouTube?
No, from the 90s. Who
Oh.
I think he died in the late 90s or something, but he was a big like stylist to the stars and stuff. And he has these amazing books where he makes over different celebrities as other celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes over like random people. The most endearing thing is like when he just like finds like normals. He's like, this lady is like, I saw her like, you know, at the mall and I thought that she was just stunning. And then like he, you know, does this like makeover face and it's like crazy. But he styles like different celebrities as other celebrities. So there's like this photo of Martha Stewart styled as Veronica Lake and Gwyneth Paltrow as James Dean or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, but like Tori Amos is one of his muses. And anyway, so he has these theories that you can go either heavy on the eyes and light on the lips,
or vice versa,
or vice versa, or you can go heavy.
So that's not even a theory. That's just a fact. It's
just well, it's not a theory. It's an approach. Different approaches, I should say. So.
But that's just every approach. Either top, bottom, or both.
Yeah, whatever.
That's like
anyway,
not an approach.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that my approach today was heavy on the eyes, light on the lips, but whatever.
I can
always revisit.
I mean, I think you look beautiful, whatever you do.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway,
this is not interesting.
Who says?
Who says? This is Don't Think Twice,
an unfiltered podcast where we trust our instincts
and learn that life is only as good as the company you keep. We have, my family has this old family friend who we've known for years and years and years. And she is 95 years old. She's in very poor health this year. And we just recently received word that she went into hospice. I haven't heard much news about it in the past week or so I'm not really sure what the status is. But it sort of got me and my whole immediate family sort of going down memory lane a little bit.
Yeah.
And the thing that it got me thinking about was about like the things that make up like the legend of your family.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody has those things like, and they could be something really small like my sister when she was testing to skip out of kindergarten, like told like this is a story that gets told like often where she was like, do you know what sperm is? Because my dad's a reproductive biologist to the woman. And then they proceeded to have this long conversation about this. And then like they come out of the testing room and the woman's like, yeah, you know, I think she's ready for first grade.
She's weird, but she's ready for first grade.
So like things like that, or like the time that my mom, who doesn't know how to swim, by the way, and neither of my parents even, like my dad actually can't float. That's a weird fact about him. He's very dense. True. He sinks. It's weird. He's a witch probably. Yeah. Anyway, but my mom one time they went whitewater rafting, like, and I think it was like on the Rio Grande or something. Like it was somewhere, or maybe not, but maybe
Pretty
somewhere in Oregon.
Rough.
Yeah, they went whitewater rafting, and then at the end, people were like really triumphantly like jumping off the raft in celebration, and my mom like caught up in the emotion of the moment.
The spirit got her.
Yeah, she just leaped into the water, and I mean they're all wearing life vests, but then she just starts bobbing away like down the river, and someone had to jump in and save her.
That runs in the family because that happened to you 2 years ago in Cape Cod. I mean, you know how to swim. But
do
you
have
did
some.
get pulled away by the current.
Yeah,
and had to be saved.
sometimes we get overcome with emotions. We get really caught up in the joy of a moment. The
It's one of the best
exhilaration.
qualities about you.
Yeah, sometimes it just really get taken
Soaking
away.
in the joy of the moment.
Yeah. But yeah, so these are like these moments where those are like the kind of stories that get told over and over again and sort of become like the narrative of what your family is. And so this family friend, I just thought I'd share one, like, the formative anecdote.
Yeah.
Which is that my parents, this is before I was even born, so that this is how much of a story this story gets retold.
This
'cause
family
I know
goes.
it.
I mean, this
yeah.
friendship goes.
Yeah,
back.
it goes very, very far back. So my parents were in East Lansing, Michigan, and my dad had got a job at the Primate Research Center in Oregon, Beaverton, Oregon. And so they packed up their pea green Buick and got on the road with my sister, who was probably, I don't know, it was probably like, 1982 or something like that, 81, maybe even. So she was very, very little, like a toddler. And they were on the road and they predicted all these like really terrible snowstorms. And these are two people from India who have experienced snow now in East Lansing. Yeah. So they know what it is, but they, winter driving is like a thing that's not like really a known skill. So anyway, so he's calling the office that he's supposed to start on Monday morning, and all worried because they're stuck, somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And this kindly lady answers the phone. And this is like the secretary for the Primate Research Center.
Yeah.
And her name is Jean, and she has never met my parents before, but she's very concerned, and she's like, here's what you need to do. You need to pull over. You need to put yourself in a hotel and don't leave until it stops snowing. Like, don't leave until the roads are clear. She's like, I'll tell you what, VJ, I have no authority around here, but I'm telling you, you need to do that and be safe. And I will take care of telling these people that you're going to get here when you get here. So she had like not met them ever and like already loved them. And so my dad was reminiscing about the story when we were talking about Jean's recent turn in her health. Yeah. And and then after they finally did get to Oregon and they met, it was definitely like a love at first sight situation. And she took our family under her wing, and knowing that we're new to the area, and my parents were semi new to the country a few years in, and so she, knowing that we would have nowhere to go on like all the American holidays, we spent Thanksgiving, Easter, like Christmas with their family, all throughout my childhood. And they didn't have young children in the house, but they would organize like Easter egg hunts and like Easter bonnet making and all these things. And like anyway, so it's a huge part of like the fabric of my childhood.
Yeah.
And I don't know, so I guess the larger coda to that I was thinking about was also just like not that there needs to be a moral to it, that was just the story,
right,
but
no.
But I was also just thinking about like the state of the world right now, kind of thing, and like that is just like that, that's like what a person should be like and what Americans should be like. That she's like, it's like it's a group hug policy towards like things like these new immigrants, like we're gonna like come celebrate Thanksgiving, come celebrate like with us. Like, I don't know. So anyway, so I was wondering, I wanted to ask you if you had any sort of family lore type things to share.
We all do, right?
Yeah. Or if you can think of any off the top of your head.
Well, the first one that comes to mind is a story that happened before I was born, way before I was born, and was very confusing to me and for many years. But it's called, I don't know how to, I'm a terrible storyteller, so I'll try to like make this short. But all growing up, whenever anyone in the family, and this is on my mom's side of the family, is talking about something, when you're in a big family situation, people are talking over top of each other, and then someone's in the room next door and they're like, come in like midway through a conversation, and then they want to like, and then they keep asking questions because they weren't in the first part of the conversation. And you don't want to stop and like fill them in. It's like, sorry, dude, you weren't here for the first part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. So growing up, everyone would just say Mary Kennicott, which I thought was a term for many years.
Wait, so sorry. Wait, to clarify,
say-
like if I were having a conversation, somebody else comes in and they're like, "Hey, what are you talking about? What did that person
Yeah.
do?" You would just say, "Mary Kennicott," meaning stay out of it. It's
Yes,
too long.
we're too far in.
We can't backtrack.
And everyone knew what that meant. It was like,
Okay.
oh, okay. So then they would.
You accept it and
Yes.
you move on. Okay.
So I thought that meant something. I thought it was like a French term.
This is actually really useful.
So I thought it was a thing. Well, it turns out it's not a thing. Well, Mary Kennicott was a 1970s, mid 70s soap opera actress. And this story stems from my mom and her two siblings were in the backseat of a car during a road trip, and my grandfather has had poor hearing forever, and this is before he had hearing aids, and he was in the front seat, and my mom was back then, because apparently in the 70s everyone was into soap operas, and there was something happening with Mary Kennicott and her storyline, and it was really dramatic, and my granddad kept like, huh, what are you talking about, what? And then my mom is a little bit of a drama queen, and so just like yells at the top of her lungs like, Mary Kennicott, fucking Mary Kennicott. So then that's from that day to this, it just became
That's amazing.
So
is that still a thing? Do people still use that in your family?
yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, that's why it was confusing, because no one filled me in for years on why it was even
Well, that's a prime example of Mary Kennicott. The story was too long to fill you in.
It was too long.
They're like, just accept that this is a term and move on. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen. I think we got to bring it around, spread it around.
Yeah. So that's one of them. But we all have them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any more.
Well, I was thinking about acts of kindness. The story that you once told me about your family friend, your mom's best friend.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of just like acts of kindness from like your chosen family.
Well, that was sweet. So this was back in the early 1992, actually, to be exact. I was 6 years old, and it was the winter of 92, December of 1992, when the MTV Music Awards used to be held at the end of the year. Which
that's
coincided,
logical, right?
which coincided with our family's annual Christmas party, and this is on my dad's side of the family in Atlanta. And so it was on a Saturday night, and we had to go. And I realized that week that it
There was a
coincided with the MTV Music Awards, which was going to have Prince performing, which was very important for me to see Prince. And so
This is a major like occasion.
This is a
with a
case.
capital O.
I needed to see it. I couldn't stay home. My mom wouldn't let me. I begged her to stay home. She's like, no, we have to go to the Christmas party.
At age 6, you were like, Mom, I have to stay
But I
home
have
by
to see Prince,
myself
yeah.
so that I can see Prince on TV.
But we went to this damn Christmas party, and I was sad about it. And this is, 1992. We didn't have a VCR. DVR was not
Long
a thing.
way.
If you missed it, you missed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
you couldn't
went to
even
the
find it on
Christmas
YouTube
party. Was so
afterwards.
sad about it. But then the next day or the next week, the next few days after the Christmas party,
You're still in mourning.
I'm still in. It's weighing heavy on the heart. And, but my mom had called her friend Kay. Didn't tell me about it, but had called my friend Kay and told her about the situation. And Kay had a VCR that could record, and she was very sweet, and she recorded it, the whole thing. This is when you actually had to keep it on, like the television on.
Mm-hmm.
And she recorded the whole 3-hour MTV Music Awards, and then my mom took me over there and surprised me with the tape.
Oh my God.
And it was
Were you
very
so
sweet.
excited?
It was very sweet. And I kept that tape until I graduated high school. Had
Oh
that
my
tape.
God.
Watched that tape a lot.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
Oh, did you get rid of it finally? Well,
Well,
who has
it's,
a VCR
since then
anymore?
my mom moved several times, and I can't
Yeah.
imagine that the 1992 Arsenio Hall hosted Video Music Awards, was of a priority.
Those are like that's like a small thing that. Well, yes, she did have to watch the whole thing to
Yeah.
record it, but like the fact that that's something that you remember like 25 years later is. I mean, I don't know. That's super, super sweet. It's one of those small acts that like
Means a lot.
means a lot. Yeah. I need some new stuff.
I need some new stuff, too.
Stuff in the rotation, and I think we like have both struggled with like how to find it.
Yeah.
So I was
People know, let us
Yeah, I was
know.
reading this thing about SoundCloud. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff about SoundCloud recently because they've been going through financial straits.
Have they?
Yeah, and they were like recently saved from having to close down by this huge like venture capital like thing of like $170 million. Because people were so upset that it was going to shut down because it was like, this is like, it's a community.
Yeah.
So the question like is like, I mean, it's a community, but it's a community that's not making any money.
Right.
And they haven't figured out how to monetize it quite yet, I think. I don't know exactly the ins and outs, but it's one of those places where there's actual content creation happening there, as opposed to on a Spotify or like whatever, where it's just, you know, a streaming service that's licensing music from the major labels. And interestingly, that's really hard to monetize too, because the more listeners you have, especially if it's on a free version, the more listeners you have, you still have to pay more. Like each person is still like, you're not lowering your costs by increasing your base.
Yeah.
You have to pay basically more for the more listeners that there are to the labels. So how can you possibly scale that like a regular business? You have to think about it totally differently, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't like, again, I'm not a, I don't know much about the business world, but like to me that presents a really basic level problem of like, how do you monetize it if you can't make more money necessarily? You can't increase your margin by increasing your user base.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know why I started talking about SoundCloud.
Yeah.
There was a reason I started talking about
content
SoundCloud.
creation, like where you find like new artists, or where you find.
Yeah, maybe it was something about. Oh yes, it was about passive listening versus active listening, and the reason that like that people tend to like Pandora, or like there's like a bunch of other things like that, where essentially they're creating.
It's radio.
Yeah, it's radio. It's radio. Yeah. But like even on Spotify, that people don't want to necessarily like. There's maybe 25% of their time they spend actually making playlists and like making music for specific things. You know, which I think you and I do quite a lot with, and maybe more than the average user, because it sounds like that like generally in the general population, like 75% of the use on even on a Spotify or even an on-demand music service like is people wanting
playlist.
Yeah,
that
people
else
wanting somebody else's content,
right? Something
that they don't have to think about, or that they don't know what's coming next.
This reminds me of. Were you going to say something else?
No. I just thought this was interesting.
Yeah. This so when I listen to the radio when I work often. And
which stations do you like?
So in the morning I'll listen to an NPR station, just to kind of get the news. I'll listen to KCRW.
Yep.
Out of LA. And then KEXP out of Seattle. So those are two good ones. This past month, KEXP did this thing. I listened almost every day because KEXP did a series dedicated to past radio stations that are now defunct.
Oh, that's amazing.
Across the country.
Yeah. Well, there aren't that many independent radio stations that are left. And it's funny that we're all sort of listening to those, considering that. So basically Clear Channel or like whatever, all those sorts of conglomerates. iHeartRadio like are dominating with the same playlist that's a predictable playlist. Whereas it's like what people actually want is more of that passive thing for somebody else to like curate it for them. And there's like more, and there's more surprise to it. There's more like new, like interest to it when it's something that's independent. So there's one in Jersey, whatever the New York one that's really, can't remember what it is.
The call numbers, I don't.
Yeah. And then there's one out of Austin that's pretty good. But like there's not that many. There's like only a half dozen that I can think of. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So, well, KEXP did this thing, and so every day they would highlight a new station. So they would tell you the history of the sation, how it came to be,
awesome.
the evolution of it. Then they would interview like a disc jockey that was there, or a couple of people, and their philosophy and how they kind of went against the grain. And there was everything from like punk stations to hip hop and R&B stations, and then those DJs would curate a playlist.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, of stuff. And it wasn't always stuff that they played back in the day. It would be like if we were still
If we were on the air today,
hopping
this
today,
is what
this
we
is
would be doing.
this is a kind of, yeah.
That's so cool.
So that made for that, it was the whole month, and it just made for like really good radio listening. And it was that, I was like, you know, there's a lot of talk about radio being dead, which I agree with. I mean,
As we knew it.
in that, yeah. But hearing something like KEXP and doing something like that, there was so much good music played. It was like all of us, I mean, sure, people like different genres of music. People, you know, you open up a Spotify list and some people have, you know, genres that they stick pretty closely to, but by and large, a lot of people like a lot of different things, and it like slices across genre. But radio doesn't reflect that as much.
But the on-demand thing, like it's like it takes away that aspect of discovery.
Yeah.
If you are self-selecting for the thing that you already know that you're gonna like, then it's hard to like stumble across the thing that you're surprised that you like.
Yeah. So you know, KEXP, KCRW, the Austin station, there are a few, but you're right, there really aren't a lot. But fortunately, you can stream them from your computer. And
oh, totally. And I love the idea of it being like the DJ controls what's on that hour.
Yes.
So sometimes when I'm listening to it, it'll be like, I do not like what this person is laying down, you know? And they're on for whatever, there are 2 hours or whatever, so you go do something else.
Yes.
And, you know, but at least you know that there's some like spontaneous aspect to it. If you don't like it, then, you know, it still means that there's some like thought going into what's being played.
So I think internet radio it's something that I visit often. There's a Groove Salad, I think it's called. Groove FM or something. Yeah, it's a website that it's commercial free. They have probably 25 channels of different sort of, a lot of ambient music. So if you just want just like ambient,
background,
some like indie pop. They have a yacht rock radio station that just plays like 70s, like
Hall & Oates
yeah,
shit.
yeah, and it's like out of San
amazing.
Francisco. It's like really podunk, the website is, but I mean, it plays 24/7. If you just want something in the background that's like good to listen to, I like that. Every once in a while, I'll turn to Berlin
Community Radio,
which can play
that's
some
so good.
really weird stuff sometimes, especially because they're 6 hours ahead of us. So if you turn it on at like
3 p.m., it's the middle of the night there, right?
or like 8 p.m. at night here, it's like the middle of the night there.
Yeah.
And that will be, sometimes it's just kind of like soundscapes. It'll just be like people opening and closing doors, or like zippers, or like keys, like opening and closing. So that's kind of weird. But other times,
even way more experimental. Whereas like the DJs are doing like mixing. They're actually like mixing stuff.
Yeah. So I'd encourage people, like, if you need.
I actually really love Berlin Community Radio. That is that's one I haven't listened to in a while.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be reminded of
It can
that
be
one.
weird, but it sometimes can be really
it's very
great.
rewarding sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's never like the type of thing where you listen to it and you're like, it's very different. Like on KEXP, you can be like, oh, I like this song. I'm gonna go look up that artist, and that might be something that is like a new discovery for me.
Yeah.
Berlin Community Radio is like, this is a weird moment in time that I will never be able to recreate. This is not a song that exists.
It came and went. You can't get
Right,
it. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But that's its own sort of pleasure.
Yeah, and I think, speaking of SoundCloud, I think they put some of their shows on SoundCloud.
Oh, they do?
For a reference.
Cool.
I think.
Yeah.
At least they used to. And then there's a New York jazz station that I listen to.
The big one.
The big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one's really great. Especially at night, they do some really good stuff. And then also like Sunday afternoon stuff is really nice.
I've been listening to a lot of jazz recently, actually.
New leaf for you?
No, not really. It's like sort of a revisiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vocal jazz?
That's more of a, I guess, a new leaf for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still need more. I need more things. We need to like maybe have a shared like new music discovery thing. All right.
know, but yesterday was a beautiful day. We've had a string of beautiful days, actually. Really mild, low temperature, low humidity.
Well, it's my favorite thing
Like
because it
72
gets cool enough at night
degrees.
that it's a little
It's a
chilly.
little nippy. You
Yeah.
need like a little long sleeve shirt. So yesterday I worked from home all day. You know, I'm an introvert. I was in kind of one of those moods where I didn't like want to do something necessarily social, but I wanted to get out to get some fresh air. So I packed a bag and just started walking.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the most beautiful things about New York, for all of its annoyances, is this ability just to walk in any direction and
I would say
and
probably
find
the
things.
most beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
So I walked west and ended up way down in Red Hook, all the way on the water,
Mm-hmm.
a few miles from home. Just had some tunes in my ear.
You just kept walking that whole way? You didn't
I just
stop
walked.
anywhere? Oh, wow.
Walked the whole way. I didn't walk inside any shops.
Mhm.
Nope, just walked. Made my way all the way down to this sailor. I guess it used to be like it's a very well known bar in Red Hook called Sonny's. It's been there forever and a day, and
It has a very interesting history, actually,
yeah,
which, you can do further research on.
look it up. Sonny's, named after Sonny. It's kind of what is it, like an old sailor bar or something? It
I
seemed
think
like
it
a
was
very like
back in the day, maybe
blue collar kind of place.
like a longshoreman type of hang, but it also has a long history of being like a artsy supporter of music and art and stuff like that. There was like I think an art studio in the back part of the bar. At
Oh, I
some
didn't know
point.
that.
Yeah. Anyway, Sonny just recently passed.
He did.
And the bar is like still kind of in limbo. Like it keeps kind of saving itself from the brink.
Yeah, well, that
closure.
area is starting to get really hot.
Mm-hmm.
Prices have gone up a lot. I don't know if he owns the building or owned the building or whatever, but it's still it's if you're ever out in Red Hook, I would recommend it. I don't know what their hours are. It's kind of they have funky hours, I think, or they used to.
They used to, yeah.
And they might be more regular, but I got myself a solitary drink there, which if you're not into going out either dinner by yourself or a drink by yourself, I think you should really push yourself to do it because it's really great. There are some, I would say you need to resist to get the most out of it. I would resist staying on your phone the whole time. So like put your phone away. I think taking a book to the bar is great. I had a book with me.
This is actually such a great activity, and one that I came to only very recently. You may remember this. When I turned 30, I decided that
For your birthday.
on my birthday, it was
On your
my
birthday.
birthday, I decided that a thing that someone who's 30 should do is to go to a bar and get a drink entirely by myself. Not with the intent of, again, not with the phone, not in the intent of like I'm meeting somebody here later. That's a
Right.
different type of feeling.
Right.
Of like I'm just killing some time until someone meets me here. That's a different type of solitary drink.
Yeah.
But like just going with the express intent of getting a drink all by yourself without, the crutch of your phone and without like,
Yeah.
feeling like you're waiting for something. And it's really, really, really pleasurable. I don't know why I decided that this was something that was a 30-year-old benchmark, but I was like, I need to do this. And I went out and had a great time. And I've done it from time to time. And like, it's perfect for that, where you feel like you want to get out of the house and like sort of see other people, but
Right.
not necessarily interact with other people.
Yeah.
And you may interact with other people, but
Well, I think you need to be open to it. I mean, unless you don't want to, but having the phone is like is a thing that will.
immediately repel that from happening.
Right.
But I think it also just repels, like, I've been thinking a lot about how the phone, like, and this is not something I came up with, just the idea that like having your phone constantly with you is a way to like not reflect on
Yeah.
anything. So if there's any danger that like your mind might wander or like
You
come
might
to
just have
something
to, like-
creatively or
Yeah.
whatever, it's like you're basically nipping that in the bud entirely by just being like, oh, I don't have anything to do right now with my mind, so
Right.
therefore I will occupy
Flip
it
through
with
all
this.
the things on my phone.
Yeah.
That's why I think they should rename airplane mode into like some other name, because It's like it's useful for more than just the airplane. Like I put my phone on airplane mode when I go on walks. Like yesterday, I turned it on airplane mode on for a while. I just don't want to be bothered with the. I just want to like let my mind like enjoy my music, let my mind whatever. So
Yeah, I feel like I cut myself off from letting my mind wander
yeah,
pretty frequently by using my phone and by texting people or reaching out to people idly when I am just like walking around.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just text people, just
yeah. Well, so I ended up at this bar, had my solitary drink, which is so great to like sit there, read a little bit. The sun was coming down. The bar faces west, so the sun just kind of shines in the front of the bar. You can see the boats pulling in, and after working the harbor for the day, like Coast Guard, I guess. I don't know what else. And then just kind of looking at the other people in the bar a little bit. Although I do have a staring problem, so I have to be cognizant of not staring at people.
Well, it's like it's not even like you're leering. You're just like
Slack-jawed
staring.
It's a problem. It runs in the family.
Yeah.
My mom has the same issue.
Yeah. No, and I think you've tried to really edit that recently, but like it's just that's what comes natural to you.
It does,
like,
and I know that in old age, I'm just gonna be just slack-jawed staring at people, just like indiscriminately,
well, the best part is when you're trying to eavesdrop. You're trying to eavesdrop on someone's conversation, and you eavesdrop with your eyes.
I can't like, listen without looking. I can't listen with my mouth closed either. I only listen with my mouth wide open, staring at you.
The sound waves go into your mouth.
In my mouth. So, it being December. What am I saying?
September.
It being September.
Wow, getting ahead of ourselves.
Oof. Well, I'm thinking it being the fall. So the fall is in the Northeast. It's beautiful. I love the fall. But it's that first nip of cold that reminds me of all the few precious weeks we have to still be able to do like walk outside for these long walks and really kind of do that kind of thing. So I went on the walk yesterday just because I wanted to get some fresh air, but this is something that I do in the fall, and I would encourage people to do when you have the weather to do it. Like when I used to work in the city, it would be like instead of walking to the closest subway stop, to maybe walk across town to a different subway stop. When I had to drive places home in Ann Arbor and in Georgia, I would like put the windows down and take a different route home, that kind of thing. Because when you're in a rut, not that I'm in a rut, but I was just home working all day and I hadn't seen anyone, and I hadn't like left my room and my couch and living room. Just like getting out, changing it up a little bit, whether it's like a long walk or a different route home, or like just when you have that routine.
Totally.
Being
like, did you find that yesterday you like felt like you did reflect on anything, or like you felt like you had some good thoughts when you were rambling? Not that you have to share what they are, but
yeah. Well, one, you have. For me, I just had an appreciation of it's so easy to go from point A to point B wherever you are, whether it's getting on the train and going to work and then coming home, and you forget about all the things that are in the middle, or if you're in a car, you do the same thing.
Or even when you're walking, like to optimize your route.
Yes.
On Google Maps, and then you take whatever the route is that's going to say
route
that's the
every
shortest.
time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So so I didn't take any particular route. I was on a street that I don't ever remember being on. So just kind of appreciating all the things that are between the places that you end up. It's always fun for me to go walking when people are coming home from work. Because you just see like all the people and the days they've had, and some people have had good days, and some people have clearly not had good days, Or you see like the kids who are like their parents are picking them up from after school care, and they're just like so chatty about like nothing. So I don't know. Those were kind of just like the thoughts, just kind of enjoying the weather, enjoying the route, enjoying the day.
it is sort of getting around that time of year where, I mean, I love fall. It's actually my favorite season. Although I think being in New York has made me like it a little bit less because I know
What's
that it
coming?
prefaces the time of year I hate the most here, and I really do hate it here. It really dampens my spirit quite a lot.
Yeah.
It does. There's no better way to say it. That's
no
true.
winter. Yeah. No, that's.
The way it is here, but anyway, fall is definitely my favorite. I like always feel really invigorated and really like mentally sharp. Just starting right around this time of the year, I feel like really like energized to do things and like
plan
and get stuff done, and especially because August often tends to be like kind of a lay time for that. But like, and I think, okay, another thing is, I know this is like really jumping the gun here.
What?
But if you remember sort of around this time last year, we were thinking about, hey, what if we started making goals for 2017?
Yeah.
And it was something that I had never done before ever. I don't know if you had.
Not to the extent.
Well, not to the extent, but like I've never been a goal setter at all. Like I'll achieve something that is presented to me, but I would never like lay it out as being like my goal is to do X. And I think you had read an article or something about how it takes typically a few months to sort of like
really thoughtfully. I mean, it said like 3 months. You should
or whatever. Like you can allow yourself
to like start thinking about
3 months to like really
refine your goals and the steps you're going to take to achieve them, and to recognize the goals that you actually want to achieve versus like the ones that sound good.
Yeah, and like it's interesting how taking sort of a so I don't know. So first of all, reflecting on the 2017 goal process, like
we're in the third quarter, the fourth quarter, fourth.
We're still in the third quarter. October, November, December, right? Is fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
But
we're coming up on the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So I think the first of all, 2017 goal setting has been like remarkable. I mean, it's really crazy. Like I never was a person who set goals, like never was a person who was like, I need to like visualize the thing and then it'll like
write out
happen.
the steps I'm going to take to get there.
And then make it happen. And
you were checking off your
goals.
I
mean, we both have been. It's really amazing to put them down on paper. First of all, that's like really important. Like identify the steps. It's weird how almost taking this really like business minded approach to like what you want in your personal life, and then we had like quarterly check-ins, you and I,
we did,
where we would like go and we're coming up on another one soon, crazily enough, like sit down, review what progress have we made on certain things, where like what are we going to focus on more like in the months ahead, or what goals maybe need to be revisited, like either thrown out because they're no longer relevant to our lives, or they need to be revisited or changed or reworded or something like that, which is like so. I would not have previously identified that as being like my personality.
Yeah, mine either.
But it really works, and it's all for like, and for mostly, I think for us, like creative goals too. Like,
so we have the way we laid it out this year, which has been fun, is like goals, anything ranging from something like, like one of your goals was to find a signature perfume. So fun things.
But it has to be a good mix, right? It has to be a good mix of things that are fun and serious. It has to be a mix of things that are maybe like easily achievable and impossible seeming.
Right.
Like, it's not a goal. If all the goals, you can see the clear to-do list on how to get there. I mean, if you can see the list on how to get there, then it's a to-do list. It's not a goal list.
Right.
And that's just like, that's not the same thing.
Right. So we had goals for like our physical selves, whether it's like, getting into a certain kind of shape, or finding a signature scent, or improving our wardrobe. And then like goals, like career goals, like my primary career goal, which I have no idea how to get there, was to be by the end of the year, like a full-time creative person. Mm-hmm. So I still don't know how I'll get there, but we have 4 months.
Yeah.
And what
and
else?
it's not like things haven't happened towards that in like a more oblique
Right.
way. Like,
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, obviously. But like, I think that you've been building that sort of part of your skill set a lot this year and
Yeah.
stuff. And some of mine were around like how I carry myself.
Mm-hmm.
So like stage presentation and at work presentation and
Yep.
like social presentation.
Yeah, this
that
is a
sort
good
of
one
thing.
because I think you took a burlesque class to kind of
Yeah, which we talked about
Yeah.
on a previous
So
episode,
that was part
actually.
of the
So
one
that was
of the
part
like
of
the
that, part of this larger
how to get there. Yeah.
And like our writing class that we
Mhm.
took this summer or spring was definitely towards that also.
Yep.
Which also had the double whammy of like building that using a creative part of our brain that we'd never used before, having to share our work in a like public
Mhm.
forum, like all those things. So I did recently get my signature sent though, so that
Yes.
was exciting. A small
Congratulations.
one, but it actually felt really, really good. The whole
Yeah.
experience.
Well, one of mine was to travel to a place I'd never been before this year. Did that in February. Went to Mexico.
And you're gonna do it again.
Going to
in
do it
September.
again
Yeah.
in Portugal. So yeah, our goal is like kind of run the gamut from maybe easier to achieve to like. as
Yeah,
you
but
said,
and I think
something that's-
the check-in has been like a really critical part of it to just kind of celebrate like what has happened, because
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to discount the things that you've done
Yeah.
as not being like all that big of a deal until you actually, because you've written down what you want to achieve, but then to actually sit down and write down or reflect on what you've actually done and accomplished.
And I think what's made it successful so far is our goals written down are very specific. So it's not just like I want to like for physically, like I want to have like 5 more pounds of muscle, but it's like a specific number, not just like I want to like be in better
more
shape.
Fit, yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
the more specific, the better, for sure.
yeah, and then it's like, how am I going to get there? Well, then I have to do this with my diet and this with like my gym
Well,
routine.
the scariest
this
part
with my
about the
sleep.
specificity of it is the possibility that you might not achieve that exact number.
Right.
Like that was always my fear in putting like a specific number to something, or
Yep.
like making it that like focused, is then that opens up the danger that you might not actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it's like the tendency, I think, is to soften the cushion by being like, oh, I just want to be like more fit.
Right.
Because then how
So
do you,
then if you did anything, that means
you did anything.
you met
right,
that
right,
goal.
right. And it becomes really hard to actually measure like if you did anything at all.
Right.
Like but I think that tendency is to like to want to give yourself credit for stuff, and but I think so. I was really terrified to make that specificity, but I think the converse is actually true, where making it more specific actually helps you see like how much you've done.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does definitely open up the possibility that you don't meet it, which has been the case for some of my goals. I feel like it's like, oh, I'm falling short, or like I might not make that this year, or I might not do that this year. But that's a good thing in and of itself too, because it's like, well, why did that happen? Did I not work hard enough, or was the goal not right, or like
Or
and-
what excuses am I making?
exactly what excuses am I making that I can.
But we've also seen that, like
push
at the
back
check-in, that we've also seen the check-ins that, you have front of mind one goal that, and it's always the goal that feel like you're not meeting. But the beauty of having written down a list of 7 or 8 goals of the year is that when you look at all of them, you realize that, on the way, because I've been fixated on this one goal that I haven't met, and meanwhile, I've
Meantime, I've done this
actually
other
like
thing,
checked
right.
off all of these other things.
Yeah.
And if I haven't actually met the ultimate goal, all the other like little bullet points below it, I've like checked
Getting
off a
through
lot
it
of those. So I might
methodically,
I actually am.
like there's progress.
There's progress.
And it's funny also how much it's been like sort of a whack-a-mole thing. Not really. That's not the right analogy.
It sort of is.
But like, certain things from month to month or even like day to day,
Mm-hmm.
you can't, like if we had maybe 8 or 9 each or something like that, which I think is actually a good number.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but it's not an overwhelming number. But like from day to day or from month to month, your focus can't be on all eight of those simultaneously.
Right.
So it's a sort of this influx thing where like certain things get more of your energy and focus, like depending on the time.
Yeah. So we have another month to go in quarter 3.
Yeah.
But everybody, let's start thinking about 2018
Yeah,
goals.
well, that's the thing, is that like I think once we get to quarter 4, we're gonna have to start thinking about what's next for the
What are
new
your
year.
physical goals? What are your emotional goals?
Yeah.
What are your career goals?
Yeah, I'm all in on this process. I love it.